Hello, everybody.
Recording in
Hello.
Hey, Christine.
Whoa.
Okay, we're all better. Welcome, everybody. Okay, we got two Christines. And Kathy and Barbara, welcome. We've got about 20 or so households that are joining us today, so we're just going to give it a little time. But welcome, welcome. Excited to have you all here today. And we'll be cooking with Liz Sands, who you met yesterday when you came to pick up your kit. So, hey, these are one of my favorite things to do every month. So thanks for signing up. We'll just give it up. We've got plenty. We've got about 4 or 5 more minutes. So just hang tight. Hi, everybody. We're just going to give it a couple more minutes. How many of you have taken a class with us in the past? I see some familiar names. I know, I think Christine Cahill has taken one with us. And I think Heather. Hi, Heather. Welcome back. Welcome, Sally. Oh, we are too. Heather says, looking forward to this. I know this is all of Liz's recipes today, and I'm obsessed with the salad that we're gonna make, so I'm really excited for that. And then we made the sauce, the marinara, before, and we made this all of these pizza recipes up. So I know it's gonna be a good one.
Oh yeah, we're excited. I know Sally has taken our Smart Meals classes, so she's had this salad before, but she said she wasn't sick of it yet, so that's good. It's very tasty.
Awesome. Okay, everybody. So we'll get slowly started, and there'll be a few more people that are joining us. But welcome. We're so glad to have you here, and thanks for spending your weekend with us. It's always so nice to share recipes with you all. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Sarah Buckman, and this is my coworker Liz Sands, and we're really excited to be cooking up a storm with you today. I see Christine says, used to make homemade pizza every Sunday when my kids were little. They're now 39 and 35. Awesome. Well, we're glad that we can be a part of the tradition.
That's how I got into it too. We would always make pizza, and for the longest time, I still have this book that was gifted to me in 1993 because it's written in the front called Pretend Soup, and it's like really simple kid recipes, but there's a pizza dough recipe in there. And I used to use that one a lot. This is a different recipe. Because this one rises pretty quickly, but I always loved learning how to make pizza when I was a kid.
For those of you, Liz and I help with our education program. So we do both in-person classes, coordinating with different home cooks, passionate cooks who want to share their family recipes or recipes from their culture. If any of you cooks out there are ever interested in collaborating on a class, just feel free to reach out. But yeah, we do both in-person classes as well as our virtual ones. So we do at least a virtual class a month. And we keep all of those recipes post them all onto our website. So if you're ever curious about ones that you might have missed, feel free. It's a really great resource that we have. But yeah, we're really excited to be cooking with you all today. As you know, we're all operating in a different kitchen, so timing might be a little bit different, but we want to be and make this as interactive as possible. So feel free to add to the conversation. We always want to chat with our participants. If you have any tips and tricks down the way, feel free to add those as well. And of course, if there's any questions or if you need us to repeat any of these steps, we're totally here for you. We're cooking with you. So just let us know if you need a hand. And then of course we have our recipe cards. So if you need a reference those, you're welcome to it. If you're not a recipe person and you're just gonna wing it, that's fine. We can do that too. And then of course we record these classes. So some people watch them with us and then they cook the following day. So that's always fun. Before we get started, so I asked a little bit, a few of you, who has taken a class with us before? And if you've taken one with us, feel free to put in which one it was. And then a special welcome to everybody that's joining us for the first time. It always makes me so happy to get new folks and returning people. And I think last year we had more than like 500 class participants in our classes. So it's great to have this community.
Or we think. It's hard to tell because with the virtual classes, we only know who purchased a kit. But I know a lot of the time people cook with family, with friends, with kids. So, you know, that could be 3 people. We always love to see it. So
And I see there's multiple heads in some of these screens, so feel free to share who you're cooking with today. And it looks like Christine said, did fermentation, the Mediterranean, the fancy cupcakes. Ooh, yes. I'm having flashbacks to how good those were. Okay, well, Liz, do you want to share a little bit about yourself? And then can we talk about what we're going to make today?
yeah. So as Sarah said, my name's Liz Sands. We collectively are the marketing department. I've worked here for almost 5 years, and I teach a class probably once a year. We usually in the summertime do a class with Sundried Farm. I've also taught a brunch class. I've helped with our Smart Meals classes. And this is actually sadly going to be my last class because I am moving to Chicago at the end of the summer. So thank you all. I know it's very sad. It's very sad. So thank you all for joining me for my last class. I might still be here in July to help with the packing of the next class, which Sarah will talk about in a little bit. But yeah, it's really exciting. And I love making pizza. Like I said before, we always did like pizza nights at my house. One of my friends, usually once a month, will hang out on Sundays and we make this pizza dough recipe. Not quite these pizzas exactly, but it's really fun. And this one is honestly one of the simpler ones I found, and it rises really quickly. So when we're always dying to do like bread classes or dough classes for these virtual events, but it's hard to think about, well, the dough has to rise for 2 hours. What do we do in that meantime? So this one uses a rapid rise instant yeast, and it only takes 30 minutes to rise. So if you like this recipe and want to do it again, unfortunately, we do not sell this at the co-op.
Not yet.
But every other grocery store I've been to, if you just find the yeast section, there's usually like the active yeast, and right next to it is it says instant yeast fast acting. So anything like that, it just helps it rise a little bit faster. This one also requires very little kneading. I know if a recipe says to knead for 5 minutes, I never do it for the whole amount of time. It's usually okay, but my hands get really tired and it's just kind of tedious. This one, you knead it like 6 times and you're done. So it's a very simple pizza dough recipe. It's not really a super thin crust. It's not a pan. It's kind of just like a standard pizza dough, which makes it a good kind of blanket for any kind of toppings. So the ones we're making today, excuse me. So we're going to be making a homemade cherry tomato marinara sauce. We actually came up with this last year. We did a class with Sundried Farm where we did eggplant rollatini or rodolini. I'm not, really thin, and then you roll it up with ricotta inside, and we made this recipe and it was amazing. So we're doing that again. And then we're going to top it with some Greek style toppings. So we've got artichokes, roasted red peppers, kalamata olives, red onion and feta, and also mozzarella and a little bit of basil. And then the other one, we're making a really simple pesto, just blend it up with some fresh basil here. And that one's going to pair with sun-dried tomatoes and local goat cheese from Prairie Fruits Farm. So everyone has a whole container of goat cheese. We probably won't use all of it, but you can use it in the future. So as we go through, there are a couple of modifications. We're a small grocery store, so we do our best to order everything, but sometimes we don't have enough, or sometimes we order something and we get the wrong thing. So there's a couple of things throughout that a few people might have different looking bags of basil. The spring mix that we got is double what we're actually using. We ordered 5 ounces, we got 10. Unfortunately, we only planned for 5, so there's not enough dressing to do that whole salad. So save it.
We'll get extra.
We'll get there as it comes, but I'll keep you posted all through the way. So I'll just do a quick.
I just want to say, Ed Gullo has taken our classes, so many of our classes. Thank you, Ed. And it was like very sad.
Oh, I know. Come visit. You know what? I'll take the virtual. Now, how do I do that? I'll buy my own ingredients from Chicago, and then I'll tune in for the classes so I can be a part of it.
Yeah, that will be required. So yeah, okay. So let's talk a little bit about what you're going to need equipment wise. So for the pesto or for the sauce, we're going to be using a food processor or an immersion blender. Immersion blender we're hoping to do for the marinara sauce. It's not required. And then we're planning to use a food processor for the pesto. So how many of you put in the chat, how many of you don't have a blender, a food processor, anything like that? Because we'll make modifications.
Yeah.
An
immersion blender,
not too bad.
regular blender, immersion blender, or food processor. If you have any of those, that would work for any of the recipes. You might just have to wash it in between. Otherwise, we can make modifications as we go. The sauces might just be a little bit chunkier, but hopefully everybody has one of those 3 things.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And then beyond that, so we'll go through a little bit of equipment. I did write some of it on what you'll need, but I always think of new things when I'm actually standing here doing it. So I've got a couple of mixing bowls here. We're going to be making the dough in one bowl, and then you could wash it out, but we want to, when it's rising, we're going to put it in a separate bowl. So I've got one for that. A little bowl for when we make the dressing. You're going to need either 2 pizza pans or sheet trays. They don't have to be very big. So we're actually making one recipe of this pizza dough, and we're going to cut it in half and divide it into 2. So they're about 2 pizzas about that size. So a sheet tray, square one, or a pizza pan, either one is fine. A lot of the stuff that you have is pre-portioned, but we will need some measuring cups and measuring spoons. So I would grab those. If you have a juicer for the lemon, awesome. If not, it's okay. We'll tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And then a whisk and a wooden spoon, a cutting board and a knife. And we will be measuring water. So if you have a liquid measuring cup, great. If not, you can just use a regular one.
Mhm. And
That-
then we will have like a little
Oh, no.
saucepan
Yes.
for the tomatoes. All right. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the order of what recipes we're going to make. And we already have it, kind of the class flow on that recipe card, but we could just talk it out.
So we're going to start by making the dough, which, as I said, is one of the easier doughs I've worked with. It doesn't really take that long. It only needs 30 minutes to rise. If it goes over that, that's totally fine. And, so if we're running a little behind, that's okay, but minimum of 30 minutes. So when that's rising, we're going to make our marinara sauce. So we'll get everything ready. We'll get it on the stove, and then it kind of just does its thing for about 10, 15 minutes. In that time, we'll make the pesto sauce in the food processor. Then we'll finish off the marinara. We will make sure that all of our ingredients are ready for the pizzas. Some of them are already chopped. Some of them need to be chopped. It kind of just depends. We'll go through all of that. We'll get those prepped and in the oven. And while they're cooking, we'll make the salad. So I just want to say ahead of time, our oven, if anyone's taken a class with us before, we talk about how volatile both our stovetop and our oven's not volatile. It's just really, really fast. So
Yeah.
our pizzas might honestly cook in like 8 minutes. But typical cook time, I think, is
It was like 12.
13 to 15. So
Yeah.
they cook pretty quickly. The pesto one might end up cooking a little bit faster just because it doesn't have as many toppings as the Greek pizza, but we'll check in as we go. But if ours is done and yours is not, don't worry. It's just really, really fast.
So, okay, I think it's ready. Any questions so far? I think we're ready to start our dough.
All right. So I'm going to get we don't need the cutting board for this. So everybody, for the dough, you're going to need a big mixing bowl, your flour. So this is 2 1/3 cup flour. We'll probably only use 2 cups of it, but in case sometimes you need to add a little flour, sometimes you need to add a little water. We'll just kind of see, we'll show you what ours looks like, but you need your flour. Everyone has a packet, where did I go? Oh, a packet of yeast. We're going to use the whole thing. And then the sugar, salt, garlic powder, and dried basil are all in one little container with that labeled. I will say the garlic powder and the basil are optional. I've made this a bunch of times without that, but it just adds a little bit more flavor to the dough. So we'll grab that. We will need olive oil.
Welcome, Genevieve.
So this olive oil we're using for pretty much every recipe. So we are going to have to measure this out. This is 7 tablespoons of olive oil. I realized right before class, when we put the dough in the bowl to rise, we need to oil the bowl. I did not give you enough oil for that. I am so, so sorry. This is for everything else. So if you have any extra oil at home, canola oil, olive oil, just use that. And I apologize. I did not account for that.
But we'll tell you when you need that.
Yes. And then we'll measure some water. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to put 1 cup of flour in the big bowl. I'm going to use a 1/2 cup to get it out of here just because it's kind of difficult. So two 1/2 cups, but 1 cup total. And I always like to make sure I'm kind of leveling it off just to make sure it's the right amount.
So why just 1 cup? Why not the whole?
So we're starting with 1 cup, and then we're going to add the liquids and the spices in there. And it just kind of makes it easier to combine it initially.
Mhm.
And then we'll add the next cup at the end.
Sounds good. It's kind of like when you're making cookies, you add the flour in parts. So, okay, we added 1 cup of flour into a bigger bowl.
We're going to add this whole container of our spice mix. So it's sugar, salt, garlic powder, and basil.
Okay.
Dried basil.
Great. That sugar will also help activate the yeast, and the salt as well. And then those nice spices would be great.
Oh, it smells good, that basil.
So you're just going to stir it up together.
Just a quick stir, very minimal. Okay. So then we need 2 tablespoons of our olive oil. So again, this olive oil is for multiple recipes, so you will want to measure it out.
Okay. 2 tablespoons of olive oil.
and then 3/4 cup warm water. So I don't have like the exact temperature. You don't want it to be boiling hot, but you want it to be warm. So I'm gonna get that measured out real quick. It might take a little bit for it
We're
to
just
heat
gonna
up.
do the sink,
Yeah,
some
we're just
warm
using
water
the
from the
sink.
sink. So what was that? 2/3,
3/4.
3/4 cup of warm water. So that's just on your pizza dough recipe. We're just going right down the line. So again, we've added the 1 cup of flour. We've added the sugar, salt, garlic powder, and dried basil, the 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 3/4 cup of warm water, and now we're just stirring it up. We haven't added the yeast
Oh.
yet.
We should. Sorry, add the yeast as well. I'm so sorry.
And so we're just gonna add it all.
Yeah, I am so sorry. I got a little off. That can go in with the spice mix. So we're not too far ahead. It's gonna be okay, but put that yeast in there. The whole thing.
Yeah. And there are tons of recipes with active yeast that you can make. But I've also enjoyed this recipe with the instant fast acting yeast.
Okay, so we want to mix this up pretty well, especially since I forgot about that yeast in the beginning, but it's going to be okay, I promise. So it's not going to look like dough yet. It's going to look more like a batter.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you're just mixing it up, making sure that all the dry spots are gone.
Yep.
And now it's time to add the rest of the
Not
flour.
all of it. So 1 more cup. So
Okay.
you may or may not need that extra 3rd cup, but most of the time I don't.
Okay, so just 1 more cup, so a total of 2 cups.
Yeah.
It's just a little shy of what's in the container.
I'm trying to be precise and also not make a mess, but it's tough.
You've got your apron
I
on, you're
do. I
fine.
never think to wear an apron and then I'm covered in flour. So I thought ahead in that regard.
Okay, so we mixed up all the ingredients and now we're adding that additional 1 cup of flour. And then you'll start to see it's really starting to become more of a dough, drying it out a little.
We're going to stir it with our spoon for a little bit, and then you will kind of have to get in there with your hands, but kind of just try and stir until it's really not working anymore. And as you're doing it, kind of try and scrape the sides so you're getting every little bit.
Okay.
So it's still a little like, I was gonna say like shaggy. I guess there's like little pieces in there. Sometimes you'll need to add more flour. Sometimes you'll need to add more water. It can really be dependent on even things like the humidity, like your elevation level. But before I add anything, I start to work it with my hands and see if I can get it there without making any modifications. So I'm just scraping all of the extra dough off my spoon. And I'm gonna get in there. And it will be sticky, but it'll get better. But if it's really, really sticky, sorry, you can add a little flour or get some flour on your hands. This one's pretty sticky.
And the great thing also is that the 30 minutes, you're just gonna add a little bit more flour.
I'm gonna add just a little bit, like a sprinkle, just to kind of get it to stop sticking to me so much. But it's really forming a big cohesive ball. So that's good. Sometimes a lot of it's on my hands, so we'll get that off. That smells good.
I like the addition of the basil. Are there I'm sure you're in the midst of stirring up your dough, but when you get the chance, are there a lot of dough bread makers in the room today? I just made I've been making a lot of dinner rolls, and that's been really one of my favorites.
So this is particularly sticky. So that's why we got to the extra flour, but now it's kind of starting to not come off on my fingers anymore. So that's good.
Yeah.
So we're just going to keep working it with our hand, and then we will roll it out on the counter and knead it just for a little bit. Oh my gosh.
And after the 30 minutes, it will also help kind of.
I'm going to rinse my hands.
Okay, sounds good. First timers, great. So yeah, it will be sticky, but also allowing for the dough to rest. I will start to hydrate a little bit more too. So feel free. We have maybe like a tablespoon and a half still left in our container. So feel free to add flour as needed. We're gonna go to the,
So yeah, this is still pretty sticky, but we'll get there. So I just put a little bit of flour on the counter and we're gonna knead it. So if no one's done that, you kind of use the palms of your, or like the base of your hand and just kind of push, fold it over and move it. Okay, this is good. I was starting to get real scared because it was so sticky, but it's looking perfect now.
yeah. So feel free for first timers, you just dust your surface, a clean surface with a little bit more flour, and then we're just gonna be kneading just until it,
Just a little bit. So you see if you kind of push it, it's really elastic and you want it to be able to kind of form into a ball. I will say every time I make pizza dough, and particularly right now, because I'm showing all of you, I always get so scared that it's not going to come together, but it does. When it's like really sticky, you're just like, oh my God, this is a mess. What do we do? But it should look like that. So how's everybody doing?
so we really didn't need it very much. We probably needed it like,
6, 7 times?
yeah,
I'm going to rinse this off real quick.
sounds good. So yeah, as you look, it's not sticky anymore because we really did add some more of that, more flour. So that's what you're looking for. Okay. And if you want to do less dishes, you can reuse the same bowl.
I'm actually going to use this one for our salad, but
Okay. Great.
how's everybody doing with their dough?
Okay, so after they have kneaded their dough, what's the next step?
Okay, so this is the part where I forgot to give you a little bit of extra olive oil. Honestly, there might be enough in there just because there's always a little extra that slides down. But what we want to do, is put a little bit of oil in the bowl.
Just to coat it.
If you have a spatula or a pastry brush, and if you don't, you can just use a paper towel just to kind of like move it around and coat the sides. Doesn't have to be super precise.
Yeah, we probably added like a teaspoon of
Yeah.
oil.
Then we're going to put our dough in there and make sure that it's covered with the oil.
So we're just rotating that around. Okay, nice. So everything is fully coated with a little oil, and then we're gonna put so it's gonna still need to rise. So you need a bowl that has a little space for the dough to rise. Doesn't need to be a huge bowl. And then you can cover with plastic wrap or a damp towel.
Yeah.
Just to let it rise for about 30 minutes. Yeah.
So I'm just going to put this off to the side. Don't worry about keeping track of it. We will let you know. And like I said, if it goes over, that's fine. It's some recipes that I've made, it like fully doubles and blows up. This one's not going to get quite as big, but it's going to increase quite a bit in the bowl. So we'll check on it in like 15 minutes, make sure it's looking good.
Okay.
I want to reuse this spoon for the sauce, so I'm going to clean it real quick and then we'll keep going.
Okay. So feel free to wipe down your counter. We'll do that. And then we're going to move on to the tomato sauce.
How's everyone doing? Does anyone need more time? Is anyone really struggling with the dough? I can always give tips. Like I said, sometimes it's flour you need, sometimes it's water. We needed a little extra flour, but please let us know if you need more time before we move on. It can be quite a mess to handle. Everyone doing okay? Yeah?
I see people running around.
Okay, we'll give it just a minute. I'll get the next part ready.
So yeah, when in doubt, you're gonna add a little bit more of that flour. And once we moved it to the surface, it really, onto the surface to knead it, it really started to come together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a particularly sticky batch.
Mhm.
Okay, as long as everyone thinks they're doing all right. Yeah, okay.
We could talk about what we're gonna need equipment wise.
So I'll go over the equipment and the ingredients just to get everyone on the same page, give everyone a minute or two. So we need a saucepan. When we made this last year, we made a pretty big batch. We're making just enough this time for the pizza. I think we had a little bit left over.
Mhm.
So you don't need a huge saucepan, just like a medium size with a lid though. You do want a lid. At the end, we'll need an immersion blender. We don't need that quite yet. So if you don't have it ready, that's okay. That's in like 20, 25 minutes. Wooden spoon, which where did mine go? Oh. And then we don't need a ton of other equipment other than a knife and a cutting board. So we are going to cut up an onion. We're not going to use the whole thing. As always, so these are like nice local onions, so they're not super consistently sized, which is great. Some of you might have a huge one. Ours is pretty medium size. So we're going to use about half of this. We're going to use a little bit of it to put on the pizza.
Okay, so half is gonna go into the sauce, and then some is gonna go on top.
Yes.
Also, can we just admire these sweet red onions? They still have the little stem on them, so that's when you know they're super fresh. We've been working with some Kentucky farmers, and so we've been getting a lot of early season foods. They've got a lot of greenhouses, and just being in Kentucky, just have a little bit longer of a season. So just a quick shout out to some of the local farms that we're working with for this class. So the basil is local, the onions are local, our chevre cheese comes from Prairie Fruits Farm, our feta and parmesan is coming, and mozzarella is coming from a regional dairy cooperative in Wisconsin. And then all of our spices are, for the most part, fair trade and coming from Frontier Co-op that sources all around the world. So yeah, so those are some of the, I'm sure I've forgotten some things, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that covers it.
Okay.
So does everyone have their dough in the bowl?
So dough is resting in an oiled bowl. And then we've got our red onion, and now it's time to cut it up. So how do you want to cut your onion?
So we're going to chop it. It's going to get blended at the end, so we don't need to spend a ton of time like mincing it. Also, sometimes nicer, bigger pieces is nice. So I'm going to cut this top off.
Okay.
Where'd my compost bucket go?
We always like having a compost bowl nearby.
So we're going to do half of this onion. So like I said, I tried to like pick the more mid-range ones from the box, but some of them are going to be, they shouldn't be smaller than this, but some of them might be bigger. So about this much. So I'm going to take that outer peel off. I'll probably start crying. Usually do. And we're just going to chop it. So the best way that I've learned to cut an onion really easily is to start all in one direction. So onions kind of have these little lines on them that kind of show you where to go. So like I said, we don't need super tiny pieces. We're going to blend it up. So I'm just going to start on one end.
And however you like to cut your onions, feel free. No judgment on knife skills here.
Oh, I feel the tears already.
We'll all cry together just for a little, and then we'll be.
Red onions and shallots, which we're also using, are the ones that make me cry the most.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do it like that, kind of just regroup it, you should have these nice rows here. And then when you cut into the other side, it'll just give you the little pieces.
Yeah, so you rotate it perpendicularly and just dice.
I'm not always great about protecting my fingers, but make sure you do. And when it gets to the end, it gets kind of tough because you don't have anything to hold on to. So I usually just turn it on its side and then go from there. So that's our onion.
Okay. Alrighty.
And the onion and garlic do go in at the same time for this recipe. So I'm going to scooch that to the side and we'll do the garlic. So everyone has 3 garlic cloves. We are going to use one of those for the pesto. So mine are kind of different sizes. So I'm going to save this medium one for the pesto.
Okay.
Oh, just need 1 second.
Did the onions get you crying? Who else is crying?
Okay, that's not so bad. Sometimes it goes on for longer.
I joke that when my dad was learning how to cook, he wore his swim goggles because he just couldn't.
I've heard it works, but
handle.
I just can't
Yeah.
I can't see.
There's all these different tales and lore about like blowing out of your mouth and keep the fumes. Michael says, I'm crying.
Yeah.
Well, we're doing it together, Michael.
So moving on to the garlic, a really good way to make it easier to peel it is to just place your knife flat on top of it and give it a little hit. And then that peel will kind of come right off. Great. I will say I like to do most things like from scratch. I have started buying jars of minced garlic because it's just such a time saver. Okay.
Okay, and we're just gonna mince that as small as we can. But again, I'm actually one of those people that likes like chunks of garlic in a marinara sauce. But
Depends.
as long as it's cooked, it like turns that buttery flavor. But however you want to chop your garlic, we're gonna basically saute those together in some olive oil. The one thing I'm really excited about with this recipe, we've made this, like Liz said, for an eggplant dish, where you slice your eggplants really thin and you roast them and then you roll them up with marinara and cheese, and it's delicious. The eggplant rollatini. I'll share that recipe when I send out the recording tonight. But yeah, what's great about this sauce is there's actually no chopping of the cherry tomatoes. They'll actually just be kind of blistered, and they'll break apart just naturally as they heat. So this is something that is just a great trick and just makes things so simple. So as we're going into the cherry tomato season, probably in the next month or so, this will be something that I think you'll really enjoy.
All right, so we've got our onions, we've got our garlic. So we're gonna turn on our stove here to medium heat.
Okay.
Which again, our stove is a little weird. So if you see ours start to like bubble over and yours isn't there yet, that's okay.
So we use induction, as some of you know, and it gets hot immediately and then it slows down. Okay, so what we'll do is we're gonna add some olive oil into the pan.
I'm gonna do another tablespoon.
Okay. So just 1 tablespoon. If you're an olive oil lover, whatever your heart desires on that.
Sarah's trick to making really good sauces that I never really used to do is you add butter at the end.
Yeah.
It instantly just like elevates it to this other level. So everyone has a tablespoon of butter that we'll add at the very end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also, if anybody's ever looking for different marinara recipes that just, you want to make something that just kind of cooking on the stove for a couple hours. One of my other favorite marinara recipes is a carrot marinara. So you finely chop your carrots really, really tiny. You add it with either canned tomatoes or whatnot. Okay, I think our olive oil is ready to go. So we're going to add our red onion and our garlic. But yeah, carrot marinara, it's super good. It has the sweetness of what a cherry tomato, what this sauce is going to taste like, because the cherry tomatoes really make it so sweet. But I know marinara is kind of like, everybody's got their own recipe.
Okay, we're gonna give this our undivided attention for just a couple minutes, and then we'll add the tomatoes, and then we can kind of leave it alone for a little while.
So what are we looking for with the red onions? We're just looking for some translucent color.
Yeah, exactly. They'll keep cooking when we add the tomatoes, but we just want to get them a little ahead of the game.
So you can do like medium heat or whatever. We just want an active saute on these onions. Okay. Are there anyone out here that has been making pizza besides Christine? That's actually one of my first jobs here at the co-op. I started as the barista like 12 years ago. And that was when we had the cafe. And after I learned all of the coffee, they moved me on to making pizzas. So maybe I served you a slice of pizza or a pizza in the past. Sally says, I've been failing at making pizzas. Well, hey, today's the day. Sometimes dough can be a little finicky, but it's really nice when you just have the right ratios. I think a lot of times it's just your yeast. The yeast is old, or you don't wait enough. So usually when you're not having things work out for your dough, it's either your yeast is probably just old.
Okay.
Um,
I think we're good to go over here. Like I said, ours moves pretty quickly, but our onions look pretty good.
Our onions
Definitely
like basically
very
turned
aromatic.
white.
Yeah.
So a lot of that red is completely gone, cooked off, and so we're seeing that our onions are kind of white, translucent. So you probably still need a little bit more time, but once you think that the onions are basically cooked, or getting cooked,
Mhm.
you add the cherry tomatoes up and
Oh, got a stem. All right, we had a stem, so make sure everybody do a stem check. So I'm gonna turn this back.
yeah, I think maybe like 20.
I turned it down because
Please
it was going a little crazy, but yeah. So we'll just kind of give these a good stir. And then we're gonna put the lid on for about 10 minutes. It could take a little bit longer, but they'll see the tomatoes kind of start to burst apart. And that's when we go to the next step. So
I know it seems crazy not to slice the cherry tomatoes, but trust me, this is it's a tried and true.
I'm gonna set a 10-minute timer.
Okay, how's everybody doing? Our yeast has been, or our dough has been rising for a little over 10 minutes.
Sometimes you won't see anything for the first like 10, 15, and then it kind of keeps going.
Yeah.
But
Right.
okay, so give everyone just a
Yeah.
quick moment to catch up, and then we can do our pesto because the pesto is actually super easy. You just prep a couple things and then it all goes into a food processor.
Mhm.
So
Can we just do a check-in? Where is everybody at? How you doing? You're still working on your onions? Jen says, onions still cooking. No
Okay.
problem, Jen. So yeah, once you feel like the onions are losing their color, they're starting to be a little bit translucent. They don't have to be, ours weren't completely translucent. They were just kind of turning white.
stir.
We put all of our tomatoes in,
Give your
just whole.
tomatoes a stir every couple of minutes or so.
Yeah. Onions still cooking, says Michael. Christine's fine. Onions not ready for tomatoes. Cool. Take your time. Again, think of one of the beautiful things about this class is like, I think it's kind of magical in a way, the fact that we're all cooking the same recipes in the different houses, but kind of all on the same page and using different cookware and knives that you're comfortable with. We really started these virtual classes out of COVID, and it's just so nice to continue them. And you get to have the full meal at the end. So you really get all the learning.
Oh yeah.
All the learning, but then all the reward
Oh yeah.
at the end. Okay, so
We'll give everyone a minute or two to catch up, but I'll just start kind of talking about the pesto, what we're going to need for this. So like I said, a food processor is ideal, but if you have a blender, that's fine. If you only have an immersion blender, Sarah's kind of good trick for that to really get it blended up is to put it in a big mason jar and kind of just go from there. So we'll need a lemon. We're going to use half of it, but 1 lemon. That last garlic clove, which I lost somehow.
well, did we add it?
I only did 2. I lost my garlic. Well, we have more, but
Maybe our garlic hopped over to somebody else's house. And
I
I feel like,
distinctly did 2 of them.
yeah,
only
maybe
2.
you
May have knocked it out on the ground or
maybe we
something.
added it. So if you were with us and added an extra garlic clove, that's okay. Okay, so
Lemon, 1 garlic clove. So moving forward, if we need salt or pepper, they're just combined. So we're not going to use this whole thing of salt. We're not going to use this whole thing of pepper.
Okay.
So we will need to measure those out.
and you can also, some people are really sensitive to salts or spice. So our pepper usually isn't overly strong,
Mhm.
but feel free to add and adapt as you go.
We're going to need,
Sally says, love these virtual classes. Oh, wait, hold on. Love these virtual classes and knowing others are cooking along. I know,
Yay.
it's really precious. It's like
Thanks,
not
Sally.
often. How often do you know that you're cooking the same recipe that 20 other people are cooking.
Yeah.
That's like super rare. Okay,
So we've got our lemon, our garlic, our salt and pepper. We'll use some more of that olive oil, and then we've got some Parmesan.
Okay.
And then the last thing is the basil. So we're going to so this is one of those things. Some people have in a big bag like this, and some people have in a bag that has a sticker from Green Pantry Nursery. It's all the same amount. We're going to need a little. So this was like super fresh yesterday, but basil is
so delicate. So feel free to pick out some of the blacker ones that just have a little bit of bruising is okay.
If it's just wilted, that's okay too. So this is all going to get blended up. We are going to use a little bit of the basil for a topping. A little bit's going to, tiny bit's going to go in this sauce. And then a little bit's going to go on top of the Greek pizza. So if you see any that aren't looking great, like try and find a couple of the best pieces and reserve those, because those are just going to be served fresh. The ones that maybe are wilted, we can put in the pesto.
I don't know if you can see it, but some are starting to crack. So this will take a little while, but that steam really kind of builds the pressure as those cherry tomatoes are cooking, and they'll start to kind of pop. So that's why the lid's really important.
So I'm just going to take like 5 leaves and set these aside. We're going to hang on to those for now. And
so
then
5 leaves of basil set aside. And now we're going to try and remove some of the stems from the basil.
Yeah. So all of this is going to go into our pesto.
And pesto is such a funny thing. Like there's so many different ways to make pesto. Basically, the concept is ideally you have basil, a good oil, a little cheese, and some nuts. But there's so many different adaptations. We're actually
not the nuts out.
We're not using the even though the walnuts are in the kit, we're actually using that for the salad. And this was just as delicious without the nuts. So some people use pine nuts. One of the tricks at the co-op, if you've ever gotten our pesto,
So good.
yeah, it's really good. And it's vegan. So we use basil and spinach, olive oil, salt and pepper, obviously. And then we also utilize like nutritional yeast. So that kind of gives it that umami taste to it.
If you've never tried it before, we sell it in little containers in our grab and go section.
Yeah.
It is so good. That same class we did last year with Solagradia, we made the sauce for the eggplant, but then we used our co-op made pizza dough to make these little like rolls, like bread rolls.
Mm-hmm.
And we put the house-made pesto sauce in it, and it was delicious.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, because that's the other, oops, sorry, hitting the door underneath us. In case you don't, one of the things I sometimes do is I'll buy those, our bakery's pizza crusts. They come in those little logs, and you can just put them in the freezer, keep them in the freezer, and then just thaw them out the day before in your fridge. And it's so great. But now that you know how to make your own pizza dough, you'll be fine. You won't even need that. So how's everybody's tomatoes? Are you starting to hear anything pop, or are you seeing any of the cherry tomato split?
That was looking good.
Okay, let's take a look at the dough. Let's sneak.
So it's not
Sneak a peek.
Still needs some time, but it's definitely
it's significantly
getting
bigger.
there. It's getting there for sure. So we'll put this back on, but it's looking good.
Okay, that's fun. Take a look at your dough. Take a look at your.
This isn't really like a cooking story, but just an anecdote. I'm thinking sometimes maybe I've scarred myself into liking this dough because it doesn't take very long. Because one time I had 2 dogs at the time, and I was making pizza dough, and I had one that needed to sit for like 2 hours. And so I had it out, I put it up high, and I needed to run an errand. So I went to the store, and I came back, and at the time, one of the dogs was a husky lab mix. He was huge. He ate all of it. He ate the whole bowl of pizza dough.
Oh my God.
And apparently that is the worst thing a dog can eat, because it'll expand in their stomach, and it can like give them effects of like drunkenness too, because the yeast in there will like, he was fine. But I was like, I called the emergency vet line. I was so terrified. And so I'm like, now I'm just like, it goes in the fridge. Like no matter, I don't even have a pet anymore, but I still sometimes like put it up high
Oh my God.
because I'm just afraid.
Somebody's just gonna eat all of your raw dough.
It's yeah, it's not good for him. Okay, so we've got our basil. I'm just gonna peel this garlic clove, but we don't need to cut it up.
Okay.
If anybody out there doesn't have, I think nobody said they didn't have a blender or anything. So, but I'll just say it anyway. If you don't have a blender or an immersion blender or a food processor, you would want to mince the garlic and you would want to mince the basil too. And then you could kind of just like blend it up and it would still kind of create a sauce. It would just be a little chunkier, but because we're using the blender, we're not going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm also going to cut my lemon in half. We only need half of it. So I don't know, maybe we can make some lemon water or something to go with our pizza later.
So we will be using a food processor. You
Ooh,
could also
these are
use a
looking good.
blender.
Okay.
That's already plugged in.
So we're going to add everything except the oil. So we'll start with everything else and get it kind of like a baseline blend, and then we'll add the oil to really bring it together.
Okay.
So the first thing, lemon. We've got a handy lemon squeezer. If you don't, just make sure these, I just pulled one seed out of this lemon, but they're not very seedy. So just make sure there's no seeds. You could just squeeze it with your hand. But if you don't have one of these,
They're great.
they're amazing.
So just half a lemon squeezed.
That was the timer for the tomatoes. Ours are looking good, but it seemed like everyone was a little, a couple steps behind. So we'll just give it a few more minutes, and they can't really like overcook because we're gonna
Oh, but look,
blend it up
it's-
anyway.
the sauce is almost kind of this golden colors coming. And we've got a lot of splits happening, and it's kind of we've got like a hard simmer going on. And this
smells
is like
so
a great
good.
time. Once you you just kind of start wanting to squish them, and that's exactly what we'll do. So
Beautiful.
looking good. And we'll just stir it. We don't want the temperature to be so hot that things are burning. We want it to be drawing the liquid out of the tomatoes. We probably could also slow things down just a little.
So we're going to turn ours down a little bit. If yours don't quite look like that yet, keep it at the same temperature while we make the pesto, and then we'll come back to it and we'll finish that off.
Okay, so half a lemon squeezed into the food processor.
We're just going to pop the clove of garlic in there.
Garlic whole.
Yep.
Okay.
Salt and pepper. So I'm going to start with a 1/4 teaspoon. We can taste it and add more, but this is a smaller recipe. We'll use all of this on the pizza. So if you wanted to make like a big batch pesto, you'd probably do more than a 1/4 teaspoon, but I'm going to start with a 1/4 of each.
1/4 teaspoon of both salt.
I like a lot of pepper. If you don't, maybe just do half. So we're going to add the basil.
Okay.
And the whole thing of Parmesan, that's 2 tablespoons.
Okay. Perfect.
And this is kind of a smaller batch. So when we tested this at Sarah's house, she has like a little food processor. This isn't going to look like a lot of pesto, but it's plenty for the pizza. I promise.
Yeah.
So we're going to get
Also,
loud.
it's powerful too. Like the basil is strong, the garlic, the Parmesan. It's really good.
There you go.
Perfect.
Okay. We're going to get loud for a second. Actually, that's really quiet. I expected it. Okay. So that's just a quick blend. You can kind of see it start to mince up. And now we're going to add olive oil. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil.
Okay.
And then we'll have 2 tablespoons left for our salad dressing. It's a lot of oil in this one. Okay. Keep doing it. There you go.
Okay.
This is like the quietest food processor.
I love this food processor. It's an oldie, but a goodie.
So I'm going to use a spatula to just kind of push down all of the like remnants on the side so they really get incorporated. A spoon would be fine if you don't have a spatula. Oh, that's so pretty.
It's gorgeous. What you really want to keep an eye out for is just making sure that you don't have one huge piece of garlic.
Yeah.
But it looks pretty even, and you really don't have to blend it for too long.
I think we're good. So
Great.
we're going to use all of this. on the pizza. So I'm going to leave it in there just to save a bowl. If you don't have an immersion blender or a blender and you have to use the food processor for the sauce as well, I would just put it in a little bowl.
Okay, great.
So our tomatoes are looking really good. So we can turn it down if people need a couple more minutes. Does anyone need a couple more minutes before we do the next step of the marinara sauce? We're always going to be ahead.
So our tomatoes, there's only a couple. Michael says, yes, please.
Okay.
That is a-okay. So
Get our oven turned on.
you got to plug it in. So there are some tomatoes that are totally mushy and I'm just kind of smashing them down. And now's a good time to kind of burst the ones that haven't burst yet. I'm excited for you guys to try this recipe. It's going to be so good.
It is so good. I said, there's a new pizza place that opened up in Lincoln Square Mall. I cannot remember
Oh yeah,
what it's called.
Patricio's.
Patricio's. And yesterday, Sarah had started eating her lunch and I was like, oh man, I wanted to go get pizza. And then I remembered we're eating pizza today. So it was for the best.
I would have gone. I was just halfway through a sandwich.
It's really good pizza. You can get it by the slice and it's like pretty thin crust. It's good. But I'm happy to wait for today. So one quick thing we can do while we're waiting.
Well, that's rare for you because you always she's like the perfect bringing her lunch and her breakfast snack and her little, she's really good about bringing her own lunch.
Sometimes. Here's the thing. If I don't have like my breakfast and my lunch and a snack and a drink, we work at a grocery store. So I can just go buy all of this. I think the first 3 months I worked here, I probably spent so much money because I wanted to try everything and I hadn't really gotten in my groove, but
I know
we're
so spoiled.
We are.
We get to just walk down. Our offices are right above the register, so we just get to walk down and be like, I'm hungry. What should we do? What should we eat?
All right.
Genevieve says it is good. My son and I ate there last week. Yeah,
it's really good.
Okay, so it is time probably for us to do the next step.
So we'll do this really quickly. It won't take long, but if anyone's still waiting on their tomatoes, we're just going to take 2 of those pieces of basil and cut them up real small. So this fresh basil is going to go in the sauce. So the easiest way I found to cut basil, if you want to do it as like a topping or in a sauce, kind of stack them together, roll them up like a sleeping bag. This is really a tiny amount, and then just chop it. So that kind of gives you like a chiffonade.
Yeah.
And that'll be really good. So it's just a little bit. We don't need a ton. Fresh basil has such strong flavor, and there's so many toppings on this pizza. I promise it'll be full of flavor. So yeah, I mean, this sauce, if you didn't have an immersion blender, it would be good just the way it is. It would just be a little chunkier, but that's fine.
Yeah, the immersion blender is really nice because it does blend up those skins, and that's one of the things.
Dough's looking great.
Dough's looking great. We're all doing great. Good job cooking from scratch.
You know what we didn't do? We'll give it one more minute. I'm going to try the pesto. We didn't try it. So that way if it needs a little more salt or pepper.
Definitely. I am also wanting to try it.
I forgot that we
also, it's the height of basil season. Like it's going to be loving. If you have any basil plants in your garden, with all this heat and that rain last week, it's going to be growing.
I think it's perfect.
Ooh, yeah. That lemon is really...
Lemon? I don't think lemon is traditional in basil pesto, but I like to add a little bit. I'm good with that.
I think it usually is. I think lemon is.
Is it? Okay. Okay, so we are on the cherry tomato marinara. We are on step D. So the tomatoes have started to burst. We're going to add salt, basil, oregano, pepper, chili flakes, and butter. You don't have to add the chili flakes. And once again, sorry, we're not using all of the chili flakes. So we're just going to do these one at a time. So salt, 1/4 teaspoon. Okay. Basil, we just chopped up 2 pieces. We're going to just pop that in there. Oregano is a 1/2 teaspoon, which is the full container. So you can just dump that container right in the pot. The next thing is black pepper. We're going to measure that. So another 1/4 teaspoon. Oh, it's so pretty.
It is.
Chili flakes. this is only a quarter teaspoon in here. I would just take a pinch. I love chili flakes. I put them in
But
everything.
these chili flakes, they're from our bulk section. They're spicy.
They are.
So if you're not a spicy person, you don't have to add it.
No. So I just did a pinch and we're going to use the other half for the salad dressing if you want. Again, you don't have to.
The other thing is this is going to be on the pizza. So it's going to be, some of it's absorbed into the dough. It's going to be covered in sauce, or it's
Mhm.
going to be covered in cheese. So it's
Oh, yeah.
okay if has a little bit more of a kick. Oh yeah.
The last thing,
secret
Sarah's
ingredient.
secret, butter.
Chunk of butter. And there are people that add even more butter to marinara sauce, but for
This is a
one
small batch.
the ratio is about right for just one pack of cherry tomatoes.
Yeah.
So as you can see, I
Mhm.
did lower the temp just a little bit because we do want it to be a little bit saucy, but the one good thing about this recipe is it still is very thick. And that will really help with the pizza sauce. So one of the pet peeves for making pizza sauce is you really don't want it to be that liquidy because it will get trapped underneath the cheese and it won't cook the dough as well. So having a thicker sauce is totally fine. So all of those spices are incorporated. The butter has melted completely. And we're now really getting more of a congealed kind of golden sauce. And so again, let's remind you, if you haven't preheated your oven yet, 425. So here's our powerhouse.
It
our
is
mini
powerful.
powerhouse. Okay, so then the next part is, are you ready to immersion blend it?
Yeah, we'll blend ours. We'll check in when we're done and give everyone a couple extra minutes. The next thing that we're going to do is just really quickly prep a couple of the ingredients that go on this pizza. There's like 3 things that need to be chopped. And then it's time to get back to our dough, stretch our pizzas, top them off and get them in the oven. And then we'll make the salad. So we're doing great on time. It's almost 4 o'clock. So we're doing great.
So one thing that I note for when you do immersion blend, this is actually if you do have an immersion blender, which I'm assuming not all of you do, you can pop it into the food processor, you can pop it into a blender. But I love this immersion blender. I've had it literally since I got I got it as a freshman in college because you can make smoothies with it. It had like a little whisk attachment.
Soup.
And I've had it, it's like been a very long time and it's noisy. The motor is like almost fried on this guy, but it still works. So
they are really nice to have. If you make a lot of soups that you blend, I just had a blender for a long time. And so you like scoop out half of it, you put it in the blender and then you have to put it back. It's a whole thing. And then like, also sometimes it can be a shock to like a glass blender to put really, really hot liquid in it. So these are really great. I think you can get them for like $20. I have one too. They're really nice.
So the one thing that is going to be a little bit not tricky, but one thing that I will mention is for the immersion blender, you will, because it's so shallow in the bowl, you will probably have to like I recommend tipping the pot just a little bit so that you have a little bit more to work with when you go to immersion blend it.
So I'm going to get going. Sarah will just kind of keep that camera on there. And again, this would be good the way it is.
Yeah.
So however, your desired level of blended. Be careful because it might splash at you.
Splatter.
I love how orange it gets. It's so pretty.
Yeah. We're really just looking for some of those skins to be broken apart a little bit more.
That's another thing with this recipe. I've seen a lot of like marinara recipes where it says to like boil the tomatoes and then take the skin off. And it's just so much work. And this one, you don't have to do that at all. It's it's so simple and amazing. little messy, but that's okay.
And at a certain point, you'll be like, okay, that's enough. There might be some little.
I'm happy with this consistency.
Me too. Me too.
Pretty smooth. Let's give it a taste.
Yes. I'm so excited for you guys to try it.
I'm gonna say a little more salt, and other than that,
Mhm.
good to go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add another quarter teaspoon of salt. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just our preference, but and then just stir it back up.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll try it again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
That salt. Yeah. Adding that quarter teaspoon really helped.
So you turned it. Okay.
It brings
So,
out that sweetness.
if your sauce is done, go ahead and turn that oven off. We want it to cool a
Turn
little.
the stovetop
Turn
off.
the stove off. Yeah. Yes. Leave the oven on. You want it to cool a little bit just to make it easier to handle when you get on the dough.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna
Yum,
move
yum,
it
yum.
off the hot burner.
When we did make this, we had a little bit left over.
Yeah.
And I was dunking some of the pizza crust into it, and it was so good.
I didn't see you do that.
Mm.
That's such a good idea. Maybe that was the next day for leftovers, because that's a really good idea.
Yeah. Okay, so we're check in again. Where are we
Let's
at?
do a dough check real quick. That's looking good.
Oh, yay.
So we're gonna wait just a minute, but when we get to it, the most fun part of dough is you get to like punch it down and you feel it kind of like just collapse around. It's really cool. So
Nice.
we'll wait just a minute while we prep a couple ingredients, and then it's time to move on to the dough. But this looks really good. I know it can be a little odd to see those like specks in there, but it's just the basil. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and it's gonna be good. Dough is growing.
I'm
says
always
Jen.
nervous. I feel like there have been times where I've done dough exactly the way I did it before and it just didn't work. So I was really hoping to not let you all down. So
Well,
happy.
doing this all together just makes it that much more special. Okay, I'm gonna remove the spotlight and just do a quick check-in. How is everybody? Where are you at? Let us know what step you're at, and then so we're gonna start prepping. The next piece is we're gonna start prepping some of the ingredients, just chopping some of the Mediterranean ingredients that we have.
Yeah. So I'll just go over. Oh, do we get a?
Michael says, we are good. Kathy says, tomato sauce is fine. Pesto is awfully wet. And that's okay. Let's see.
Ours is a little oily too, but it'll be okay.
Yeah.
I can't really, if we had more cheese, you could add a little more cheese, but it's going to get spread over the whole pizza. And pesto often is a little oily. So that if it looks anything like ours, you can kind of see some of that oil, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe some people got bigger lemons. I think it'll be okay.
Christine says, we're good. There are two of us. Oily pesto. Great. Yeah, the pesto should be the pesto should be oily, and the lemon, you want that. A lot of that will bake off.
If you're worried about it and you have more Parmesan cheese at home, you can add a little bit more Parmesan, but it's going to be okay.
Kathy says lemony wet, not oily.
Okay.
One thing that will be helpful with the pizza is for the pesto pizza, particularly, we're adding some chèvre goat cheese. And so there might be some gaps that will allow it to cook. But when we made it the exact recipe, and it turned out.
It worked fine in the oven.
How to thicken pesto? Question mark. You could, if you really wanted to, you could probably add a little bit of the onion that we have left over if you wanted to really thicken it up. Onion's not usually a part of pesto. You could do that.
We will have some leftover mozzarella. That's definitely not traditional in pesto, but it could blend it up. But ours is pretty thin, and ours is thin too, and it's gonna be okay.
The thing is, what helps is we weighed out the basil, so we know everyone's operating with the same quantities. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is thin, but it's gonna get spread out. I've seen different kinds of pesto. Sometimes it is a bit thicker or like really dark. I don't know what makes it so dark, but ours is the same, and I promise it's gonna be okay on that pizza. So
if for some reason you really were like, I need to add some to this pesto, You could add some of the walnuts that we have a lot, for the salad, but I think you'll be just fine.
Mhm.
Okay, so let me get that camera back up and
So we're just gonna prep a couple veggies. So let's just get everything that we need to prep for this next pizza. So what goes on this is shredded mozzarella. The mozzarella is already shredded, so we can leave that alone for a second. Everyone has a cup of artichoke hearts, 2 tablespoons of feta cheese, some roasted red pepper, some kalamata olives, and then we're gonna use a little bit of that onion and a little bit, or the rest of that basil. So I'm just gonna cut up everything on this cutting board and just leave it so then we can just put it right on the pizza. I'm gonna start with the onion just because that you need more like space to go at it. We just want a little bit. There's already onion in the sauce. There's a lot else going on. Maybe like a little more than that.
so maybe a little less than a quarter onion. And then how are you gonna cut it?
Let me start over. So just cut that onion right in half. So you have half an onion left, just cut that in half.
So we're working with a quarter. We're gonna take the skin off. And then are you gonna do like thin slices?
I'm gonna do thin slices. If you don't like that, sometimes I like onion, but sometimes I don't want too much of it. But for this, it's really good. But if you wanted to chop it or dice it, you can. But I'm gonna do really thin.
Kind of like half
slices.
moons.
That last one's always tough. Okay. So then, yeah, I'm just gonna kind of pull them apart. It's really up to you. These pizzas are, because we're doing 2 of them and the salad, they're not huge. So this might even be a little more onion than I want. So everyone has extra onion. Just do as much as you feel comfortable. You never want to overload a pizza though, because then it makes it harder to cook.
Yeah, or it will need a little bit more time in the oven, but
I'm gonna do about that much. So it probably is like an 1/8 of an onion.
great.
Use that for something later.
Okay, we've got the feta that's already crumbled.
The feta's good to go. I'm gonna just do our basil exactly the same way we did it for the sauce. So just kind of stack them up, roll it up, slice it.
Okay. All right.
Okay, move that to the side. So we'll take our red pepper.
There might be a little bit of that marinade still on it, but that's fine.
So for this, we're gonna slice it as well. So I'm gonna slice it this way.
Mm. Yum.
I love roasted red pepper.
No,
Mm.
I don't eat them enough. It's one thing that I really enjoy.
So my pepper was still whole, so I'm gonna kind of break these apart a little bit.
Okay.
So they're not like circles.
Mm-hmm. Did anybody else try their tomato sauce yet? I'm so curious what you think.
Okay, so that's our pepper over there. Let's do our olives. So everyone has Kalamata olives. We're
Might
gonna
steal an olive.
do
if you
it.
Don't mind.
Do it. So I'm just gonna slice these up.
You might not need all the olives. I know there's some people that are not olive fans, but
Yeah, and if you're not, just leave it out.
good, Jen and Michael. Christine says sauce is delicious. The butter makes all the difference.
It does, I know.
right? I know.
I never used to do that.
Yeah, it kind of works as like a emulsifier, so it really kind of helps blend things together.
I think one more olive.
Okay, so we did about.
You can eat the rest.
All right, I will.
I like Kalamata olives on pizza, but I don't just eat them. But black olives, I will just like eat a whole can of those.
My mom's family, it's a tradition to have black olives on Christmas and all the
Do that
special
too, like
holidays.
cheese plates and stuff.
Yeah, and so as a kid, I grew up and being like, I don't
Mhm.
like black olives. And now look at me trying to steal olives from this. But I do have to say, Kalamata is my preferred
good.
olive. And if anybody's not tried, we've got the Castel Voltrano. I'm probably
Mhm.
butchering the Italian name, but they're really good and really buttery and kind of more al dente than like the soft kalamata olives that you would normally get. But.
Yum.
Okay, so chopping, we're continuing to chop things.
The last thing, so we did our onion, we did our basil, we did the red pepper and the olives. The last thing are these artichoke hearts. They're already quartered, so I'm just gonna do like 2 times over, just like 2 chops like that. So those are all of the toppings that need to be prepped. The other pizza, the pesto pizza, that one just gets the pesto, the sun-dried tomatoes, which are already sliced, and some goat cheese. So we're good to move on to our dough. So I'm gonna give everyone a minute or two. I'm gonna do a little bit of cleanup just because it's getting crazy. And we'll check back in just a minute. So does everybody at home have cooking spray? It would be really helpful for the pizza. If you don't, you could use just like a light layer of olive oil, but any kind of cooking spray will come in handy for those pizzas.
Oh, and look at our dough ball.
It looks amazing.
They're showing up. Beautiful. It made it. When we first put it in that bowl, I was like, what a tiny little dough ball. Now it's really, in true form. So feel free, if you haven't taken a look at your dough ball yet, now's the time to give it some attention. That's the sad thing about making dough. You do usually need to punch it after its first proof. And that ensures that if you don't punch it, then it's going to continue to rise and rise and rise, and you'll have kind of a focaccia looking like piece of dough in the oven.
Okay. So we've got our dough. It looks amazing.
Michael says, what do you think about using parchment paper?
That would work.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Parchment paper would work just fine, I would say. It might, the only thing, it's going to make it a little harder to stretch it. I don't know. It's probably going to be okay.
If you did parchment paper, I would stretch it out on a counter and then put it on parchment. Versus say I've got at home, I've got a couple really dirty looking aged sheet trays that aren't as nice as these ones. So if that's the case, parchment paper would be great, or aluminum foil. But again, we don't want too much. I think parchment paper would be just right. Aluminum foil, I guess I would worry that it would get caught in the dough.
I would probably recommend, let me see here. So we have,
what we usually recommend is we oil the sheet trays before you place the dough.
So we're going to need 2 more tablespoons of olive oil for the salad, but there's always a little left over. So I just measured out 2 tablespoons of olive oil that's going to go in our salad dressing, and we do still have a little bit left. Yeah. So I would probably recommend oil first.
Yeah.
You could take, if you have a grill brush, just brush it on, or even a spatula like this, just kind of give it a good coating. That's probably what I recommend. Okay. So when I say punch, you don't have to get in there, but just take your fist and just push it down, and it'll just kind of deflate around you.
Love it. We made the pizzas without parchment, just on an oiled sheet tray, and it was totally fine. But if you want to use parchment, you totally can. So look at that beauty.
This is our dough. It's fantastic. So this is just one recipe. A lot of time, the pizza pan that I have is I don't know, this big. It's pretty big. And you can stretch it to that whole pizza. We wanted to do some variety, so we're going to cut this in half. So if you saw the promo for this, the 2 pizzas, those were the ones we made as a test for this class, and they're going to be kind of these
big watermelon size.
Yeah. So it's not going to take up this whole sheet tray. So we'll just kind of make an oval in the middle, but we'll go through that in just a second. So I'm just going to use a knife and cut it right in half. So make sure that it's an even shape before you cut it. So it's even. So right there. Okay. Or if you have a dough cutter, those are great. So I'm going to take each one, shape it into a ball again.
I mean, it's still kind of oily from being in the bowl.
It is still kind of oily, so it might be okay. I just in case,
I would
just
do
to
oil.
make sure it doesn't stick. But
yeah, there's nothing worse than
messy
when you have your pizza stick to the pan and
Yeah.
scraping
You
it.
can usually still salvage it, but it is sad. Okay, so let's just do one at a time. Sometimes if you put the dough out too, you'll notice when you stretch the dough, it will it's gonna try and shrink a little bit. And once you get those toppings on there to hold it in place, it won't. So let's just do one dough at a time. So we'll roll out the dough, we'll top that one, and then we'll move to the other one.
Great.
So I'm gonna spray my pan here. And if you have, if you decide you want to start making pizza, I would invest in a round pizza pan because I don't know. I mean, I don't really care about the shape of the pizza, but when you're stretching it, it's a lot easier because you have the pan and the pan kind of moves around as you're like working the dough. And it's easier to get a like consistent shape, but it's also fine if your oval pizza is not perfectly consistent. So it still be delicious, but you can get them anywhere. I have a couple and I really like them.
Yeah, I had a couple of different types of pans. There's some with like little holes in them. Those sometimes the dough can get trapped inside and then
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that.
so the solid ones that's what we use at the store when we're making our frozen pizzas for you guys. Okay.
So put the dough right in the middle, kind of flatten it with both hands. And then you're just going to kind of stretch it out until it gets bigger and thinner and forms a shape that resembles a pizza. So again, because we split this in half, it's not gonna, and it helps to kind of move the pan around so you can get at it at all angles. Because we split this recipe in half, it's not gonna take up the whole tray. And it might look like a small pizza, but when we made this, Sarah and I ate some, her fiance ate some, and then there was some left over. So it does make a decent amount, plus this salad we're gonna make, but the toppings are.
And it's okay to make it thin. You know, I think that we're at like maybe an eighth to a quarter. I would say we're at maybe an eighth inch, and it is going to grow in the oven and rise. So that's what we're looking at.
That's about as thin as I want it.
Yeah. If you start to see it see-through, that's when you need to scrunch up your dough and kind of pinch it so that you don't have any weak spots. Because when you go to cut it, you want to make sure that it's not translucent.
Or if there's sometimes you do everything right, but there's still just like, well, it's my brother. What's he doing?
Ben, hey Ben.
He volunteers at Books to Prisoners, so I think that's what he was doing today. Sorry, I've never seen him here before, so it was shocking to see him. Anyway, sometimes you do the pizza and there might be like a hole in it, and that can be hard to scrunch up. If you find yourself with a hole, just pinch some off from the edge and like
fill it in
like a surgery, just like transplant it over there because you don't want any holes in the pizza, but it's fine if your crust is a little weird on the edge. So this one looks good. Which one should we do first?
I think we should do the tomato one.
Okay.
Because
So
I'm excited about it.
grab a spoon. That's a tiny spoon.
The other thing that I really just want to shout out is, you know, where we've got all of these different flavors. So we've got, you know, the really sweet tomatoes, and then we've got the brined, salty elements. So it's nice that we have kind of a sweeter sauce for those salty toppings. Okay, so
I'm gonna grab a spoon. So again, with the pesto, we're gonna use the whole recipe. We're not gonna use all of this, but I'm just gonna take a couple spoonfuls, pop them around, and then we'll smooth it out.
okay, just dab some sauce on. So like maybe 4 generous spoonfuls. Just use the back of your spoon to spread it out.
And I will say it's up to you if you wanted to leave like more crust, you could roll it over. I never do that. Like just leaving a little space without sauce and ingredients will give you a crust. I'm also not that into crust. Like it's like the worst part of the pizza in my opinion. But that's just me.
This crust is really good.
Well, I don't mean like, I mean, the dough is good, but like, I don't know. It's just,
Yeah.
it's so weird. I eat my crust first. I don't know if you've ever noticed when we eat pizza, I eat my crust first and then the rest of the pizza because I like it, but it's just not as good as the rest of it. So it's weird.
I know people are okay. What do you guys do? Are you a crust or not crust fan? I feel like everyone has an opinion on this. And then if there are some like really kind of open, where you can see the dough, I would maybe add just a little bit more sauce in those spaces where it's bald.
And you will find with this sauce in particular, because there's still those kind of chunks of tomato, there's going to be spots that you can't really like smooth out because it's a whole piece of tomato.
Christine says, I love the crust. We call them pizza bones.
I've never heard that before. I love it.
I know, me too. That's
Okay,
great.
so we still have a decent amount left, so
Perfect for dipping our pizza bone
yes.
after. I'm gonna use that now, Christine. I'll think of
too.
you.
I love it.
Okay, so we've got our tomato sauce, and then so there's two different ways to do things. One thing that I've learned back at in my pizza making days is when you have a lot of liquid in your toppings, you want to ideally put them on top of the cheese because it will steam out of the pizza rather than being locked into the pizza.
Yeah.
So that would be my one tip is putting some of the wet ingredients
On top of the cheese.
on top of the cheese.
We're gonna put most of them on top, but we can do the onions right in the sauce.
Okay, onions, yeah, we want those like kind of steamed. That's great. So putting our onions, and then this is the one with just mozzarella cheese.
No, it has feta too.
Oh, it has feta.
This one has
right.
mozzarella and feta, and the
Yeah.
other one has mozzarella and goat cheese.
Okay,
So we got
okay,
lots
okay.
of cheeses.
All right.
So I'm gonna measure this out. We might end up adding a little more on top, but I'm gonna measure out half a cup of mozzarella. My
Y'all-
instinct would always be more
y'all-
cheese, but if you do too much cheese, it might ruin like the balanced ratio of everything else. So we're gonna measure it. So I'm gonna pop this in my hand.
You guys can determine how much cheese you want.
I just love how bright and vibrant this sauce is. It's amazing.
Hey, Jen, so the pesto, so did we add pesto, then marinara? So we're gonna do two different pizzas. One pizza is gonna have pesto
Mhm.
as the sauce, and the other is gonna have the marinara as the sauce.
So we took our dough ball, we cut it in half. So this is the one pizza, and then we have this other dough ball over here just waiting for us to give it attention. So this pizza, all we've done so far is stretch it out, add the marinara, probably not the whole batch of sauce. We still have a decent amount left. And then we added onions and mozzarella. So the pesto and the marinara do not go together. They're two separate pizzas.
Mhm. So this one is gonna be a cherry tomato marinara with onions. Then we topped it with mozzarella, and then we're gonna do artichoke hearts, roasted bell pepper, olives, basil, and then feta. Yeah, yum, yum, yum. I'm so excited. I'm also really excited for you guys to try this because it's one of those two pizzas where you think that you're gonna have a favorite, and then by the end, it like
You want them both?
indecisive. You still can't choose.
I went to this cool pizza place in Ann Arbor last weekend. They have like tons of different pizzas by the slice.
Mm.
And I like to switch it up because I like to do like a pesto pizza or a white sauce pizza, but that can't be the only pizza. I have to have the red sauce too.
Yeah.
Like I'll never just pick a white pizza or a pesto. So it's nice to have the variety.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
So we got our peppers. We'll do our olives. This was always my favorite part. I'm sure when I was like 6, I wasn't super helpful with making the dough, but I got to put the olives on the pizza. That was like my big contribution. So
That's impressive that as a kiddo you liked olives that early.
yeah, I've always liked black olives.
That's great.
I was very picky, so it is weird that I liked it. Okay, so we're gonna do the basil last. So we did the artichokes, the peppers, the olives. We're gonna do our feta. This is about 2 tablespoons. We're gonna do the whole thing.
Some people are also really adamant about adding basil like fresh after a pizza is done, but you can we bake it in this scenario. You can decide if you want to add your basil before or after.
That would be good. Yeah, I would. Most of the time when I mentioned that like a lot of Sundays I'll cook pizza with one of my friends, we always do a margarita pizza and we always just put the basil on before it goes in the oven.
Looks good.
Okay. And then my hands are really sticky, so I'm going to wash them real quick before so I can handle that basil.
So we just added the feta. I'm going to steal a piece. Lovely.
Just gives it a little brightness and of course more flavor. I love basil.
Me too.
Okay, So these
Okay.
are going to go in. I'm going to steal this spoonful of marinara. These are going to go in at the same time. So we're going to set this aside for now.
Okay.
And we'll move on to our other
So we
pizza.
need to spray this one again.
Yeah, we're going to repeat the same process for the dough.
Look at that beauty. Look at that beauty. And one thing that I would love, if you are interested at the end, feel free to take pictures of your amazing pizzas and feel free to post them on our Facebook page or send them to me through email or on Instagram. It's so fun. And there's so many people that still, know about know about us, but don't know that we do classes. So hearing from other people about the classes is super fun. And
It's really cool to see, like Sarah said, we're all doing the same thing with the same ingredients, but everyone has their own like history of how they do things or their own tricks, or it's cool to see how things end up a little differently. Okay, so I think this one is a little bit more dough. So I didn't cut it super evenly, but that's fine. I'm not going to stretch it anymore because we only have so much pesto, but that's about the same size.
So we're just probably pouring all of the pesto on.
Yeah, we used all of it last time. So this is a small batch of pesto. Usually you make a lot more, but it's nice to, some things just like don't work well when you cut them in half. But it's really nice to know that with pesto you can, because when I've grown basil in the past, it's like I don't always have like 4 cups of basil, so this is just 1 cup.
Lovely.
So you guys see, like ours is a little wet. It's like glistening even, but it's going to be okay. I promise.
Oh yeah. Does anyone think that they're gonna like one pizza over the other, flavor wise? Gosh, does it make me hungry?
I
I'm
know.
so excited.
I'm ready. Okay, so we got our pesto down. We're going to add the same amount of mozzarella, so half a cup. Get it out. So you'll have a little mozzarella left over. If you really want to add it on top, go for it, but it'll be okay.
Okay. Christine says, it's like picking your favorite child, not possible. I love that.
Okay, so we'll see. We might want to add a little bit more mozzarella on this one, but we'll do the goat cheese first.
Yeah. Also, the
Actually, we'll do the sun-dried tomatoes first.
The sun-dried tomatoes are just so good with the pesto. And this one is simple, but with the kind of the spicier flavor from the pesto, that really nice basil flavor, it really goes well. And then just like kind of like chunks, dabs of the chèvre goat cheese on it, that kind of like melts up a little bit. Beautiful, perfect.
So these sun-dried tomatoes were sliced already. If that doesn't sound good to you, like having like a whole piece of it, go ahead and just chop it up and kind of like sprinkle it on. But I like to have kind of that bite.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we'll do our goat cheese. So everyone has a whole container of Prairie Fruits Farm fresh chev. We're going to use some of it on this pizza and we're going to use some of it on the salad. So we probably won't use the whole thing, but we'll see.
And then I'm just going to adjust the trays in the oven really quick, just to make sure there's enough space. Everybody doing okay?
So you could just go for it, but just for my own sake, just to try and keep that balance and do exactly what we did last time, because it worked really well, I'm going to measure out 2 tablespoons. So this is 1 tablespoon, and then you're just going to kind of like sprinkle it on in little dollops.
Okay, oven is hot.
2 tablespoons is plenty.
Yum, yum, yum.
We're getting
guys.
close. So once we get this pizza in the oven, we're just going to get our salad ready, which really doesn't take too long. And hopefully by the time that's done, we can sit down and eat our pizza party.
Oh my gosh. And Has there anyone, your probably hands are in chèvre goat cheese right now, but has anyone not heard about Prairie Fruits Farm?
Oh, they're
So,
amazing.
They actually have new owners. The owners of Central Illinois Bakehouse have recently bought Prairie Fruits from the original owners, and they do a lot of regenerative. It's like the only animal welfare approved creamery in Illinois. They have these goats have a really great life, and you can go to their farm to table restaurant, and they're just north of 74 on Lincoln Avenue. So it's a really easy commute. So definitely recommend it. And this goat cheese is some of the top, it's won like gold prizes for national cheese awards.
Plus you can go out and meet the goats. We
Yeah.
went on we've been there a couple of times, like as a staff, and we had our 50th anniversary party there, but we went maybe a month or two ago and did a farm tour since they've been under new ownership with maybe a dozen of our staff. And they let us go in like the baby goat pen and close the doors and just let them run wild. And they were just jumping on us. One of them like literally had like my whole ear in his mouth, which was odd, but they were just having like, we took pictures and everyone is just like giddy with smiles. And it's like very wholesome.
We were blissed out. Michael says, they are wonderful. We went on a goat hike at Prairie Fruits Farm last year. It was tons of fun.
Yay.
Super fun. And then they do these special Wednesday night dinners where they're extremely seasonal, kind of once in a lifetime menu. So definitely recommend going out there. Okay, so I think it's time for our pizzas to go in the oven. So let's do it.
So it should be at 425. It doesn't really matter which way you put them in.
We're putting both in, and then we'll set a timer.
I'm setting a timer for you all for 12 minutes because ours will probably cook faster than that. But you'll know when they're ready. The best way, and we'll show you too, because sometimes it can look like it's ready on top, and then you look at the bottom and it's still like really pale.
Yeah.
You want it to be kind of crispy all around.
Yeah, and you want that cheese ideally to be kind of golden, have some little golden bubbles to it. Okay, so now we're cleaning up. We got pizzas in the oven. Life is good. We're gonna make the dressing, and then we're gonna chop some onion. Or sorry, by onion I mean carrot.
Carrot.
I mean
Apple?
Apple. Oh my gosh.
Onion, carrot, apple.
My mind's on pizza.
So we're going to start with the dressing. So the last thing in there is the goat cheese walnut salad. This is a pretty simple salad, but it just like comes together so well. My future sister-in-law made this for Christmas a couple years ago, and I make it all the time. As I said, I know we did these smart meals classes with OSF Healthcare, and I've made it like 4 times, but it's really, really good. Really good and simple. So we'll make the dressing first. It's a like white wine vinegar, Dijon, honey, mustard dressing. And then we use spring mix. Big disclaimer, we are not using this whole thing. We ordered 5 ounce, they gave us 10. So this is literally double what we need. So we'll just eyeball it. I only recommend not doing the whole thing because we just don't have enough dressing for it. I made this recipe, so we're using all of the dressing. There's none left over, and it would just like barely touch this.
Yeah. But you can have a healthy salad tomorrow. Yeah,
we'll have leftover goat cheese. We're only going to use half of the Granny Smith apple. So you could, a lot of the great thing about this dressing is it's stuff that, other than the shallot, stuff that you probably have at home. I've made it without the shallot. It's still pretty good. My fiance is always insistent that we put the shallot in there because it really like elevates it, but it's fine without. And then oil is a staple, honey, mustard, salt, pepper, chili flakes. As far as the vinegar goes, I like the white wine vinegar the best, but you could use, I wouldn't do balsamic, but you could use an apple cider vinegar or a red wine vinegar if you don't have that. And then we have a little bit of walnuts on here. I have a friend who is allergic to walnuts, and we've used almonds. That was really good too, but I love the walnuts. And then more of that goat cheese. So we'll start with the dressing. We'll start by mincing the shallot. I'm going to use not this whole shallot. Like I said, when I was packing your kit, some of them were smaller than this. Some of them were even bigger than this. You don't need the whole thing. It would basically just soak up all of the dressing and it would be too much. So I'm maybe going to do like I'm not sure yet. I'll show you what we end up
We'll
with.
probably do like,
Maybe like a third,
yeah, a third or half.
maybe a half, maybe a half.
Yeah,
I'd say a half.
let's
Half,
do a
half
half.
is good.
I think everyone got around the same size shallot.
I tried to leave like the huge ones, put those back on our sales floor. So I'm gonna take the outer layer off. I'm gonna cry again. This,
You wanna trade?
no, it's okay. For this, you want a really, really fine mince, like as fine as you
Because
can
it's
get.
raw, so you really need it to be as thin as possible, and then you can kind of having it thinner and then being put in with that vinegar will kind of help process those
Mhm.
harsher oils or acids.
So I'm cutting it the same way, going across it one way, and then I'm gonna do the slice this way, and then I'm gonna kind of just go over it like this with a knife until it's teeny tiny. I love shallots. So good. Okay, so this is a little big. The only thing with this method, depending on what surface your cutting board is under, sometimes it can move around. So I'm actually gonna put a towel down underneath it to keep it in place because you just don't want anything moving around when you're holding a knife. That'll kind of keep it steady.
So we want it minced, so keep just running over it with your knife.
I feel like this maybe is even too much. Just because
It'll be great. And that honey will also help with the strongness of the shallot.
that's probably good. So we're gonna put all this. Usually when I make this, I typically make this as a double batch and then I have
Thanks,
some left over.
Heather says, what'd she say? Need to jump off. Lisa, looks like it's going to be great. Thanks for the great class. Thanks,
Thank
Heather.
you. Thanks for joining.
We'll see you at another class, hopefully.
Usually when I make this, I do a double batch of this recipe, but I never use it for the whole salad. So I just did half of it for this one, but I don't know what my point of that story was. Oh, and when when I make it like that, I put everything into a mason jar and you can just shake it up to mix it. And then you already have it in a container for when you're going forward, but we're going to use all of this. So I'm just using a little bowl. So that was our shallot. Oh, I forgot I portioned out the rest of my olive oil. So we're going to do 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm just going to make sure that's still an accurate amount. 1. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's enough for the whole salad. So we have honey, Dijon, and vinegar. Sarah had a really good idea. So the honey, the recipe calls for half a teaspoon, but you can kind of go up or down. I just kind of squeezed it in there because honey sticks. So it would have been hard to just do like a tiny amount. But Sarah said it would probably help a lot if we put the vinegar in the honey just to make it come out easier. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do.
So you'll just you'll pour the vinegar into the honey and then you'll just stir the honey a little bit and it will kind of just activate it and keep it off of the.
It doesn't need to be fully mixed. We just want to get it out of that container. Oh, that worked like a charm. Yeah. So we're putting the vinegar in the honey, mixing it up, dumping it in.
Mustard.
Just kind of scoop.
Nothing is better than like a mustard vinaigrette. It really is just delicious.
So that was shallot, oil, vinegar, mustard, honey. We're going to do salt, pepper, and chili flakes. I just usually I'm going to do like 2 pinches of salt. And we can taste it and we'll see. 1 pinch of pepper. And a little pinch of chili flakes. Chili flakes, definitely optional, but I love them. I'm actually going to use, because this isn't a huge quantity, I'm going to use a fork to mix it up. It is heavy on the shallot, but that's not a bad thing.
And it's going to have the apple. There'll be sweetness too. Oh yeah.
Yeah, this salad is just like such a perfect balance. Okay. So it looks kind of thick because all those shallots are in there, but it's okay. We'll mix it up onto the salad and it'll be amazing.
Mhm. Should we try it?
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. If you taste it and it feels a little overpowering, it will not once it gets settled with everything else. There's just a lot of strong flavors in there. So let's get our salad in the bowl. One more time, only half of this huge thing of spring mix. Sorry. So I don't really know. I'm just gonna,
Yeah, just go halfway. There you go.
yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Take out any, there's a brown leaf. We're pretty good on our end.
Okay. So we'll put that aside for now. Let's chop up our apple.
So we're doing Granny Smith. You could use other apples, but the tartar grannies are just always tart. So that gives a nice sweet tart flavor.
Yeah. So we're just gonna do half. I'm just kind of cutting around the core, but we want really thin slices, really thin.
Okay, so you said a half of a goat cheese. Oop, there's our timer. Let's take a lookie.
So I set a timer for 12 minutes. We still have
Ooh,
we still have 3 minutes for you guys. So we probably, is ours done?
Ours is done. So let me turn this off real quick.
Yours probably won't be though. Just remember our oven is super speed. So I'm just cutting this apple into really thin slices while Sarah checks. Oh yeah, ours are like brown, but give yours a look, but it probably
Oh my
needs
gosh.
a couple more minutes.
Perfect. Perfect. Ooh,
Oh yeah.
I'll show the camera. Here we go. So we've got that melted beautiness. And
Mm-hmm.
yum.
So when we put
Golden.
ours in, I set a timer for 12 minutes for all of you, and we still have 2 more minutes. So take a peek at yours, but it's probably not quite done. I'll check in 2 minutes. So,
But if you have convection oven, like this oven that we have is a small convection oven. So if you do have convection oven, definitely take a look at it.
Yeah.
Every oven is different. Yeah.
so I cut up half of my Granny Smith apple. Make sure you get rid of that core. Cut it up into really small, just, thin slices. And I'm gonna pop those in the salad.
Oops, I can turn this off.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna take our walnuts. This is about 2 tablespoons of walnuts. It's not a ton, but it'll go a long way. We're gonna chop them up, just like a rough chop, whatever size you think you want. Oh, that's good to me.
Mm-hmm. So half an apple sliced, chopped walnuts.
We're gonna do 2 more tablespoons of that goat cheese. I'm just gonna rinse off my tablespoon.
Okay. Oh, I'm getting excited.
Yes, we are so close. I am very hungry.
I told Liz I ate a mini watermelon today, and that's it. So I should have ate something before this, but I was like, no, don't. This is gonna be beautiful.
I got 2 whole pizzas to eat. So I'm just crumbling in this goat cheese. I will say usually when I make this, I buy like a log of goat cheese. It's a little firmer, so it's easier to crumble. However, if you're willing to just like do the work and get your hands really dirty, the Prairie Fruits Farm is just like unmatched.
Yeah, agreed. And also the Prairie Fruits Chev is known for not having that goatiness of the goat cheese. So definitely recommend it.
Okay. So the 2-minute timer has gone off. So that's 12 minutes total. So if you haven't done so yet, while I'm finishing up this goat cheese, take a look at your pizzas, and you want to have them be a little bit brown on all the edges. Everything should be melted and crispy.
If your cheese hasn't gotten brown at all, or the crust is still very white, you want to keep it in.
Yeah. So I'll set a timer for like 2 more minutes for anybody that needs just a little bit more time. And I'm going to make the executive decision to add another tablespoon of goat cheese.
Yes.
Because we have it here and it's so good. So up to you. 2 tablespoons is what I usually do, but we have all this beautiful goat cheese. So I'm going,
Oh yeah.
doing a little extra.
Oh yeah. Beautiful.
Gonna rinse my hands and then we're gonna mix it with the dressing. Making pizza is like a messy affair. I've rinsed my
Yeah,
hands
but it's
so many
so
times.
fun. Who doesn't like pizza?
I love pizza.
I know I'm talking to the right crowd, people that
If you're
taking
here.
a pizza class.
So we've got our spring mix. We sliced up the apple. We chopped up the walnuts. We did 3 tablespoons of goat cheese. You do more or less, whatever you want. You can't really do too much, I don't think.
Mm-mm.
And we're gonna add all of this dressing. So give it another quick mix before you put it in there. Just kind of spread it around and then we'll mix it up really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have tongs, that's my ideal. Ours are just not, they everything sticks to it. I don't like our
Yeah.
tongs.
Okay.
But this is like a harder spatula. So I'm just gonna mix it up. And when you're mixing big salads, just always make sure that the bowl's big enough, because if you can't like fully mix it, then you'll just get those kind of uneven bites where like one is delicious because it has all the dressing and all the ingredients and the other one's really dry. This bowl's on a little on the small side, but as I fling lettuce around, but it'll work.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully you all like this salad and it becomes a main part of your diet like it has mine. It's just so good. I'm not a big fan of dried fruit, but if you are, I think dried cranberries would be really, really good
Mhm.
with all of these flavors. I just don't like them for
Or
some
like the
reason.
dried cherries.
Mhm.
It's great. Yummy. And you'll notice that okay, so definitely check your pizzas. Anybody have their pizzas out yet? Let us know. And if you want, we could just add this last bit of olive oil.
I don't need it.
No, you're good.
No, it's good. It's plenty. Well, that's our beautiful salad. Our pizza's done. We would love to hear where everyone's at,
Yeah.
or take the pizza up to the camera, show us what it looks like.
We'll keep an eye out.
But that would be it.
Okay.
We're gonna say, like we said, if you have marinara left over, I'm gonna put it in a little bowl so we can dip in it. That's such a good idea. And I don't know if everyone else is like this too. I'm a big fan of cold pizza. So if I have leftover pizza, I just take that to work as my lunch. Sometimes I eat it early and it becomes breakfast, but I really like cold pizza.
Cold pizza is delicious. I'm also a fan.
It is. It's like a different kind of, it's like you're not
Yeah.
eating the same meal.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I don't think we have a pizza cutter in here, do we?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we're just gonna use a knife because we don't have a pizza cutter.
I'm curious if anybody's pizza has stuck at all. Ours looks like it's coming up completely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. So cut it really however you want. I'm gonna just go down the middle, and then I think what we did before, kind of more like almost like a flatbread style. These kind of like resemble the shape. I don't really know what makes flatbread different from pizza. I think it just sounds fancy.
Michael, you said, I was going to ask if there's a way you would recommend reheating leftovers. You can definitely put them back in the oven.
Yeah.
Microwaving just doesn't, it changes the way the crust is.
You're gonna lose
No.
that crispiness. And sometimes you get like just more like oily kind of from the cheeses and stuff.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to eat it cold, I would definitely just preheat the oven to like 350 and put it in there for maybe, keep an eye on it, but like almost maybe like 7-8 minutes. It doesn't take a long time.
Yeah. Or just some aluminum foil just on the bottom. That sounds great.
This isn't sliding off the way I want it to, but that's okay.
Well, I'll have one on my plate. Okay, and so, yeah, one of the cute ways that we cut these is just lengthwise down the middle, and then
Into kind of
small.
like, not like strips, but like
Yeah.
5 pieces maybe.
Mhm.
Just depends what works for you. If you want to just cut it in quarters and go for it, that's fine.
Did we get a photo from Jen?
I don't know if we're
Let's
going to be able to see it.
Yeah,
Oh,
Jen. Ooh, yours looks good. I like those big chunks of chevre. That looks perfect. So it looks like it's close. Did you pull it out? That looks good.
mhm. Yum.
Feel free to take photos. We would love to share it with people.
So we'll just start our quick plating and give everyone a last view, and then we'll see how everyone's doing.
Yeah. Also, I'm really, really curious which one's your favorite. So if
They're really
you're-
different, which is great.
They are
I'm
different.
hungry.
Me too.
I'm loading my
Oh
plate
yeah.
up.
Yeah. Perfect.
Good, cheers. I'm glad I didn't eat a lot today to save room for this.
Well, there's always room for pizza.
That's true. Salad, you could put in a separate bowl or just, I'm just gonna put it right on
Yeah, sure.
for that I will use tongs.
Okay, I'm gonna steal a slice right now.
How do we do?
Oh, good.
Yeah?
Love it. That basil is really good.
A little hard. Sometimes with this salad, the one thing I'll say, sometimes with the goat cheese, like the toppings can kind of get stuck at the bottom. So there's a lot of apple, a lot of walnuts down here.
Yeah, make
So
sure you go for
take
it.
a big scoop of the lettuce and then kind of go digging. Make sure you have enough toppings.
We have a whole audience standing by the.
You guys want to come say hi and get a piece of pizza? We've got plenty.
Okay, Christine says our pizza is still cooking. The salad is great. Stephanie says that lemony pesto is so good.
We've got a marinara Greek pizza and a pesto goat cheese sundried tomato pizza. Go for it.
Okay, and say hi to everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, I love it.
This is so good.
Yay.
Good. Yeah, we had like four people hanging out by the doors that were like ready for a pizza. Jen says, looks great. She sent another photo.
Oh, yay. Let's see.
It's taking a minute.
That's okay. Well, I hope everyone's almost done because we were so excited to eat. Thank you all so much for joining us for this pizza class. I hope anyone that hadn't made pizza before and wanted to now feels like it's really not so overwhelming. It's really manageable.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. And definitely come to our next class. So we're doing a baking virtual class with Hannah Fink from Tooth Butter Cottage Bakery. She is a really cool baker. She's actually starting up. She's going to be renting the kitchen at Elm Street Roastery and going to be cooking up a lot of awesome pastries. She sources all of her flour from Janie's Mill, which is a really great artisanal mill. They do all organic grains, heirloom varieties. And so she's always interested in putting seasonal and local flavors together. So our class is going to be kind of a sweet treat class where you're going to make black raspberry sage coffee cake. So
Yum.
interesting flavors, but really tasty. And then also a savory cheddar scallion and kale. She was like, we got to do it. We got to throw in a local green. Scones. So cheddar scallion scones and then a coffee cake. You'll get all of the ingredients just like you did for this class. So definitely block out your calendar for that one. And then I'll send you a link today when I send you the recording. And Ed said gluten-free.
Did it work? Oh, the class.
Oh, yeah. Ed, let us know how the gluten-free crust works. I will ask Hannah. It's possible that we might be able to do like a 1-to-1 option.
Yeah, Ed, I'm dying to know if the Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 worked. I really hope so.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, T. Mason. Thanks, Michael. Michael says, thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Yay.
Thanks for the lesson. Always great to have you, Genevieve. All right, you guys.
Thank
We'll
you
let
all.
you guys go. Feel free. Thanks so much for spending Saturday with us. It really means so much.
I love a pizza party and I've never done a virtual pizza party. So it's so fun.
Virtual pizza party.
So grateful that you took a couple hours to cook with us and we're so excited to eat and hopefully see you at the next one.
Great. Yeah. Ed says pizza seemed to have worked, did not rise as much.
Okay.
That makes sense. That makes sense. but I'm glad it still worked out. Thanks, Christine. And we'll be thinking about you on Sunday with your pizza. She was saying that she always makes pizzas on Sunday, but
Oh, yeah.
it's a day early. But before you go, what's your favorite flavor? Have you tried them?
let's see, I've only tried the Greek one so far. Let's see. I think last time it was the green one, but today it's pesto.
I know. It's so good. So good. Okay, you guys. So glad you guys can make it. Stay tuned for more classes, and then we'll be also posting a in-person Indian cooking class. It will be kind of like a cool down recipe with traditional Indian recipes. So thanks so much. Stephanie says, it's impossible to pick a favorite. I love that. Oh, okay, you
Have
guys.
a great
rest of
weekend.
your
Thank
weekend,
you.
and we'll see you soon. Take care. Christine says, our oven's very slow. Totally get it.
Said what?
Christine says her oven's a little slow.
Oh, no.
That's okay. Just keep it in there. Okay, take care.